Danny Carter pulled down the metal shutter of his repair shop and locked it with a heavy click. The day had been long, filled with broken machines and tired colonists who needed their equipment fixed yesterday. His hands were covered in grease and his back ached from bending over engine parts all day. But this was life on New Portland Colony, and Danny wouldn't trade it for anything. The settlement on Kepler 442b was small, just over 3,000 people trying to make a new home on a world that didn't quite want them yet. The air was breathable, the water was clean, and the soil could grow earth crops with enough work. It was a good place, even if it was hard. Danny wiped his hands on an old rag as he walked around to the back of his shop. He wanted to check if he had left any tools outside before heading home. The twin moons were just starting to rise, casting strange purple shadows across everything. That was when he heard it, a soft whimpering sound, like a hurt animal trying to stay quiet. Danny stopped and listened. There it was again, coming from behind the waste containers in the alley. He walked slowly toward the sound, not wanting to scare whatever was making it. The alley was dark, but his eyes adjusted quickly. At first he saw nothing. Then something moved, and he spotted it. The creature was small, about the size of a large cat from Earth. But this was definitely not a cat from Earth. Its fur was completely white, so white it almost seemed to glow in the dim light. The face was cat-like, with a small nose and whiskers, but the eyes were huge and violet-colored. Danny had never seen anything like it. The creature looked up at him and made a weak hissing sound. It tried to move away, but couldn't. One of its back legs was bent wrong, clearly broken. The creature was in pain and scared. Danny knelt down slowly. He had grown up on a farm back on Earth, and he knew how to handle frightened animals. He spoke softly, using the same calm voice his mother had taught him to use with injured creatures. "Hey there, little one. I'm not going to hurt you. Let me help." The creature watched him with those strange violet eyes. It hissed again, but didn't try to run. It couldn't run, not with that broken leg. Danny could see the creature was exhausted and hurt. He carefully reached out his hands. The creature's claws came out sharp and dangerous, but it didn't really fight him. Danny gently picked it up, feeling how light it was. The creature dug its claws into his jacket, but not into his skin. It was afraid, but it seemed to understand that Danny was trying to help. Danny carried the creature back into his shop, turning on the bright work lights. He laid the creature on his workbench on top of some clean rags. The creature's breathing was fast and shallow. The broken leg looked bad, but Danny thought he could help. He wasn't a doctor, but he had fixed broken legs on farm animals before. And really, bones were bones. He had the right materials in his shop. He used lightweight metal strips, the kind he used for delicate machine repairs, and soft padding material. He worked carefully, setting the leg as straight as he could and wrapping it securely. The creature watched him the whole time. Those violet eyes never looked away. It made small sounds, musical and strange, but it held still while Danny worked. It was almost like it knew he was helping. When Danny finished the splint, he made a bed in the corner of his shop using old blankets. He filled a shallow dish with water and set it nearby. The creature drank immediately, its pink tongue lapping at the water quickly. Danny didn't know what the creature ate, so he tried different things. He put out some of the protein bars he kept for late work nights. He added some dried fruit and even some raw vegetables from his lunch. He would see what it chose. "You rest now," Danny said, even though he knew the creature couldn't understand him. "You'll be okay." He left the shop lights on low and went home. His small house was just a 10-minute walk away. He would come back early tomorrow to check on his strange patient. The next morning, Danny arrived at his shop before dawn. The creature was awake, curled up on the blankets. It had eaten some of the protein bar and all of the dried fruit. It looked at Danny when he came in, and this time there was no hissing. The creature made that musical sound again, and Danny decided it was probably purring. Days turned into weeks. Danny came to his shop early every morning and stayed late every evening. He changed the splint when needed, brought fresh water and food, and talked to the creature while he worked. He told it about his day, about the broken machines he fixed, about the colonists and their problems. The creature seemed to listen, tilting its head when he spoke. The creature started moving around more. It would hop on 3 legs, keeping the broken one off the ground. It watched Danny work, those violet eyes following his every movement. Sometimes it would make sounds, musical chirps and trills that Danny couldn't understand but found strangely beautiful. Danny tried to look up information about alien species in the colony database, but he found nothing that matched this creature. New Portland was a frontier colony, far from the established trade routes. They didn't see many aliens out here. This creature was a mystery. 3 weeks after Danny had found the creature, he came to his shop one morning to find it gone. The blankets were neatly arranged, the water dish was empty, and the splint lay on the bed, carefully removed. The creature had healed enough to leave. Danny looked around the shop but found no other trace. The door was still locked from the outside. The windows were too small for the creature to fit through. It was as if the creature had simply vanished. Danny picked up the splint and looked at it. He felt glad that the creature had recovered. Whatever it was, wherever it had come from, it was healthy now. That was what mattered. He threw away the old blankets, cleaned the water dish, and went back to work. Life on a frontier colony was full of strange things. This was just one more story, one more odd experience to file away. Danny thought about the creature sometimes over the following days, wondering where it had gone and if it was truly okay. But then work would demand his attention, and he would forget about it for hours or days at a time. A month later, Danny rarely thought about the white creature with violet eyes. It had become just a memory, fading like so many other memories do. He had machines to fix and a colony to help keep running. The creature was gone and life moved on. Danny had no way of knowing that the small act of kindness he had shown would change everything. He had no way of knowing that the creature would remember him. He had no way of knowing that one day that creature would return, transformed and powerful, to repay a debt Danny didn't even know existed. But that was years away. For now, Danny Carter was just a mechanic in a small shop on a frontier world, doing his best to help where he could and fix what was broken. 5 years passed on New Portland Colony, and Danny Carter's life changed in many ways. His small repair shop grew bigger. He hired 3 other mechanics to help with all the work. The colony was expanding and everyone needed machines fixed. Danny's business became known as the best place to go when something broke. He moved out of his tiny apartment and built a real house on the edge of town. It wasn't large, but it had a porch where he could sit and watch the sunset. The house had a small garden where he tried to grow tomatoes. They didn't taste quite like earth tomatoes, but they were close enough. The biggest change came when Danny met Lisa Monroe. She worked in the colony's agriculture center, studying plants and trying to make them grow better in the alien soil. She came to Danny's shop one day with a broken irrigation pump. Danny fixed it in 20 minutes, but they talked for 2 hours. Lisa had dark hair and green eyes that sparkled when she laughed. She loved her work and spoke about plants the way Danny spoke about engines. They understood each other in a way that felt easy and right. They started having dinner together. Then they started taking walks in the evening. 6 months later, Danny asked Lisa to marry him, and she said yes without hesitation. They had a simple wedding at the colony hall with all their friends there. It was a good day, one of the best in Danny's life. Lisa moved into Danny's house, bringing her plants and her books and her bright laugh. Life felt complete. Danny worked on machines during the day and came home to Lisa in the evening. They talked about their dreams of maybe having children someday, of watching the colony grow, of growing old together under the strange purple moons. The memory of the white creature Danny had saved years ago was completely forgotten. It was buried under layers of new memories, new experiences, new joys and challenges. Danny never thought about it anymore. It was just something that had happened once, long ago, but far across the galaxy, in a part of space that humans had never reached. That creature remembered everything. Her name was Kesith, and she was home among her people, the Velari. The Velari were an ancient race far older than humanity. They had been traveling between the stars for thousands of years when humans were still living in caves. Their technology was so advanced it would seem like magic to human eyes. The Velari looked like large cats that walked on 2 legs, with fur in many colors and large, intelligent eyes. They were peaceful by nature, preferring to study and explore rather than fight and conquer. They had watched many younger species grow and develop, but they rarely made direct contact. Young species could be dangerous, unpredictable, violent. The Velari had learned to be careful. Kesith had been on her coming-of-age journey when she crashed on Kepler 442b. All young Velari had to make such a journey, traveling alone to a distant world to prove they could survive. It was tradition, a test of courage and wisdom. Her small ship had been caught in a terrible storm. The winds on Kepler 442b were stronger than her instruments had predicted. She crashed in the wilderness outside the human colony, breaking her leg in the impact. She had tried to call for help, but her communication device was damaged. She was alone, hurt and scared. She had dragged herself to the human settlement, hoping to find shelter. The pain in her leg was terrible, and she was weak from hunger. She had hidden in that alley, not knowing if the humans would help her or hurt her. When the human male had found her, she had been too tired to fight, but he had been gentle. He had spoken in soft tones, even though she couldn't understand his language. He had fixed her leg with simple but effective methods. He had given her food and water and a safe place to rest, and he had asked for nothing in return. When Kesseth healed, she used her emergency beacon to call her people. A ship came for her in the night, using technology to enter the shop without opening the doors. She left the splint behind as a sign of respect for the humans' work. Then she went home. Back on her world, Kesseth told everyone about the human who had saved her. She told the story to her family, to her friends, and finally to the High Council that governed the Valari people. She told them about Danny's kindness, his gentle hands, his soft voice. She told them how he had helped her without knowing who or what she was, without asking for payment or reward. The High Council listened with interest. They had been watching humanity for some time. Humans were fascinating but also worrying. They were brilliant and creative, but they were also violent and aggressive. They fought wars among themselves even as they reached for the stars. The Valari weren't sure if humanity was ready for contact with the greater galactic community, but Kesseth's story made them think. It showed that humans could be kind to those weaker than themselves. It showed that humans had compassion for other living beings, even strange alien creatures they had never seen before. This was important. This was the kind of quality that marked a truly civilized species. Kesseth spent the next 5 years studying humanity. She learned their languages, all of them. She studied their history, their art, their music, their literature. She watched recordings of human life from the observation posts the Valari had hidden throughout human space. She learned everything she could about the species that had produced the person who saved her life. The more Kesseth learned, the more fascinated she became. Humans were complicated. They could be cruel and kind, violent and gentle, selfish and generous, often all in the same day. They were young and made many mistakes, but they also learned quickly and adapted to new situations with impressive speed. Kesseth also underwent the transformation. This was a sacred process among the Valari, reserved for those who would become diplomats or warriors or leaders. The transformation changed a Valari's body, making them larger and stronger, but the most visible change was the growth of wings, magnificent wings that could carry a Valari through the air. The process took 2 years and was painful. Kesseth's body grew from the size of a large cat to the size of a tall human. Her bones became stronger, her muscles more powerful, and slowly, carefully, her wings developed, growing from small bumps on her back into huge structures that shimmered with beautiful colors. When the transformation was complete, Kesseth stood before a mirror and hardly recognized herself. She was magnificent now, powerful and impressive, but she was still the same person inside, and she still remembered the human who had saved her when she was small and weak and afraid. Kesseth went before the High Council again. She asked for permission to return to the human colony. She wanted to thank Danny properly. She wanted to show her people that humans deserved a chance, that they were worthy of friendship and respect. The High Council debated for many months. Some members thought it was too soon to contact humanity. Others worried about how humans would react to learning they were not alone in the universe. But Kesseth argued passionately. She said that humans had already shown they could be kind to aliens. She said that her experience proved humans had the capacity for goodness. Finally, the High Council agreed. They would allow Kesseth to make first contact with humanity. She would go to the colony where she had been saved. She would find Danny Carter and thank him, and she would open a dialogue between the Valari and the human race. Kesseth prepared carefully. She studied human customs and diplomacy. She practiced speaking through translation devices so that humans could understand her. She chose a small ship. Not a war vessel, but a simple diplomatic craft. She wanted to show that she came in peace. The day finally came when Kesseth was ready. She stood on the launch platform of her homeworld, her wings folded against her back, her violet eyes looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there on a small frontier colony was the human who had changed her life. He had probably forgotten all about her by now. But she had not forgotten him. Kesseth boarded her ship and left her homeworld behind. The journey would take several weeks, even with Velari technology. She spent the time reviewing everything she had learned about humans and thinking about what she would say when she finally met Danny again. She wondered if he would remember her. She wondered if he would be afraid when he saw her now, so changed from the small injured creature he had helped. She wondered if humans were ready to learn that they were not alone in the universe. But most of all, Kesseth wondered if she could properly express her gratitude. How do you thank someone for saving your life? How do you thank someone for showing kindness when they had no reason to do so? Words seemed inadequate, but words were all she had to start with. As her ship approached human space, Kesseth felt nervous for the first time in years. This was important, not just for her but for both their species. What happened in the next few days could determine the relationship between humans and Velari for generations to come. It could determine whether humans would be welcomed into the galactic community or left alone to struggle and grow on their own. Everything depended on this meeting, on finding one human mechanic on a frontier colony and hoping that the kindness he had shown 5 years ago was not just a single moment, but a reflection of what humanity could truly be. Kesseth's ship entered the Kepler 442b system. She could see the planet below, blue and green and beautiful. Somewhere down there was Danny Carter living his life, completely unaware that his simple act of compassion was about to change history. Somewhere down there was the beginning of a new chapter for humanity, one that where Danny was lying on his back under a large drilling machine when the shouting started. The machine was used for digging deep into the ground to place foundation supports for new buildings. It had stopped working that morning, and the construction crew needed it fixed immediately. He had his tools spread around him and was trying to reach a broken connection deep in the machine's belly when he heard his workers yelling outside. Their voices sounded strange, filled with surprise and maybe fear. "Boss! Danny, you need to see this!" Danny rolled out from under the machine, wiping sweat from his forehead. His coveralls were covered in oil and dirt. He stood up and walked toward the door of his shop, annoyed at the interruption. He had work to do. But when he stepped outside and looked up at the sky, all thoughts of work vanished from his mind. The sky above New Portland Colony had changed. It wasn't the normal blue-purple color anymore. There was something huge up there, hanging in the air like nothing Danny had ever seen. It wasn't like any human ship. It was smooth and curved, looking almost like a living thing instead of a machine. Lights moved across its surface in patterns that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. People were coming out of every building in the colony. Everyone stood in the streets, staring up at the impossible sight. Some people looked excited, but most looked scared. Children pointed and asked questions their parents couldn't answer. The colony's warning sirens started to sound, telling everyone that something unusual was happening. Danny felt Lisa grab his hand. She had run from the agriculture center when she heard the sirens. Her face was pale and her eyes were wide. "What is that?" she whispered. "I don't know," Danny said. His heart was beating fast. "But I don't think it's human." The colony's defense systems were powering up. Danny could hear the hum of the energy shields activating and the movement of the few weapons the colony had for protection. But everyone knew those weapons were meant for pirates or raiders, not for whatever that ship was. If the beings in that ship wanted to hurt the colony, there was nothing anyone could do to stop them. Governor Linda Barnes came running into the main square, followed by her security team. She was talking into her communication device, probably trying to contact Earth or the nearest military base, but help was weeks away at best. Whatever was going to happen would happen now. The ship did nothing for several long minutes. It just hung there in the sky, silent and waiting. The whole colony held its breath. Then something changed. A beam of light came down from the ship. It was bright but didn't hurt to look at. The light formed a column from the ship to the ground, landing in the colony's main square. And in that light, something was descending. Danny pushed through the crowd, drawn by curiosity he couldn't explain. Lisa held his hand tight but followed him. They reached the edge of the square just as the figure in the light touched the ground. The being was magnificent. It stood on 2 legs like a human but was taller than any person Danny had ever seen. Its body was covered in white fur that seemed to catch and hold the light. The face was distinctly cat-like with an elegant muzzle and large pointed ears. But it was the wings that made Danny's breath catch in his throat. The wings were huge, spreading out from the being's back like they belonged to some ancient angel from Earth's old stories. They shimmered with colors that shouldn't exist. blues and purples and golds that flowed and changed as the wings moved. The feathers seemed to contain entire galaxies, stars, and nebulas captured in each one. The being's eyes scanned the crowd, and Danny felt his heart skip a beat. Those eyes were violet, a specific shade of violet that tickled something in his memory. Where had he seen eyes like that before? The being wore some kind of device on its chest. When it spoke, the device translated the sounds into English that everyone could understand. "I am Keseth of the Valari," the being said. The translated voice was clear and strong, but somehow gentle too. "I have traveled far to find a human named Danny Carter. I owe this person a debt that can never be fully repaid, but I wish to begin by offering my thanks." The crowd went silent. Everyone turned to look around, searching for whoever Danny Carter was. Danny felt dozens of eyes land on him. Lisa's hand squeezed his so hard it hurt. "That's you," she whispered. "Danny, what's happening?" Danny had no idea. His mind was racing, trying to understand. Why would an alien being come looking for him? He was nobody special, just a mechanic. He had never left this planet. He had never even met an alien before, but those violet eyes? Something about those eyes. "I'm Danny Carter," he called out, his voice rough and uncertain. The being's head turned toward him immediately. Those violet eyes locked onto his face. And if a cat-like alien could smile, this one did. The being moved through the crowd with smooth grace, its wings folding against its back to fit through the press of people. When it stood before Danny, it lowered its head in what was clearly a gesture of deep respect. "5 of your years ago," the being said, "you found me broken and frightened in a dark alley. You healed my injury without asking who I was or what I could give you. You showed me that compassion exists beyond the boundaries of species and self-interest." And then Danny remembered. The small white creature with the broken leg. The violet eyes watching him while he made a splint. The musical sounds it had made. The way it had vanished one morning, healed and gone. "The little cat," Danny said, feeling foolish even as the words left his mouth. "With the broken leg?" "Yes," Keseth said, and somehow the translation device conveyed warmth in that single word. "I have undergone the transformation since then, but I am the one you saved. I promised myself I would return to thank you, though you could not understand my words at that time." Danny's mind struggled to process this. That small injured creature had been this magnificent being. That had been a person, not an animal. He had saved someone's life without even knowing it. "I just did what anyone would do," Danny said weakly. "No," Keseth replied. "You did what you hoped anyone would do. But many would not have stopped. Many would have walked past. Many would have been afraid or uncaring. You stopped and you helped and you asked for nothing. That simple act of kindness changed everything." Governor Barnes stepped forward, trying to take control of the situation. She looked nervous but determined. "I am Governor Linda Barnes, leader of this colony," she said. "We welcome you in peace, Keseth of the Valari. But I must ask your intentions." "Why have you come here? Why now?" Keseth turned her attention to the governor, but one wing stretched out slightly toward Danny as if maintaining connection. "I have come to thank Danny Carter for saving my life," Keseth said. "But I have also come as an ambassador from my people to yours. The Valari have watched humanity for many years. We have debated whether to make contact with your species. Danny Carter's actions gave me a voice in that debate. I could speak from experience about human capacity for kindness and compassion." The crowd murmured with surprise and excitement. This was first contact, the moment humans had wondered about for generations. Were they alone in the universe? The answer was standing in front of them, wings shimmering in the sunlight. "The Valari High Council has authorized me to begin preliminary contact with humanity," Keseth continued. "We wish to open a dialogue between our peoples, to explore the possibility of friendship and mutual understanding. And it seemed right to begin this contact here, where one human showed kindness without calculation or expectation of reward." Governor Barnes looked overwhelmed. This was far beyond anything a frontier colony governor was trained to handle, but she pulled herself together and stood tall. "Then we welcome you officially to New Portland Colony," Barnes said. "We would be honored to facilitate this first contact. Perhaps we could speak more comfortably inside the administration building." Keseth agreed, but she looked back at Danny. "I would ask that Danny Carter join us if he's willing. He is the reason I am here. His voice should be heard in these discussions." Danny felt like he was in a dream. This couldn't be real. Things like this didn't happen to people like him. But Lisa pushed him gently forward. go," she said quietly. "This is important." So Danny found himself walking into the administration building with an alien ambassador, the colony governor, and various officials who all looked just as confused as he felt. Lisa insisted on coming too, and Kesith welcomed her presence with grace. "Bonds of family and love should be honored," Kesith said. "Your mate is welcome." In the conference room, Kesith folded her wings carefully and sat in a chair that was far too small for her. She didn't seem to mind. She began to explain about the Valari, about their civilization that had traveled the stars for thousands of years, about their philosophy of peaceful exploration and careful interaction with younger species. "We do not force ourselves on developing species," Kesith explained. "We watch from a distance, waiting to see what kind of people they will become. We have seen species destroy themselves with violence and greed. We have seen others grow into wisdom and compassion. Humanity is young and your path is not yet clear." "And my helping you changed your people's opinion of us?" Danny asked, still trying to understand his role in all this. "It gave me standing to argue for contact," Kesith saw. The next few weeks changed everything for New Portland Colony and for Danny Carter's life. Kesith stayed as a guest in Danny and Lisa's home, and despite the strangeness of the situation, it quickly began to feel natural. They learned each other's habits and rhythms. They shared meals together, though Kesith's diet was different from human food. They talked for hours about their different worlds and ways of life. Kesith was fascinated by human customs. She wanted to know about everything, from how humans cooked their food to why they celebrated birthdays. She watched human entertainment broadcasts with great interest, trying to understand human humor and emotional expression. Some things confused her, but she never stopped asking questions. In return, Kesith told Danny and Lisa about Valari culture. She described her homeworld, a place of floating cities and vast forests that had been carefully tended for thousands of years. She explained how Valari society worked, how they made decisions through consensus rather than voting, how they valued harmony and understanding above individual achievement. "We believe that a civilization is measured not by its technology, but by how it treats the weakest among its people," Kesith explained one evening. They were sitting on Danny's porch watching the twin moons rise. "A society that cares for its children, its elderly, its sick, and its poor is a society worth knowing. A society that abandons those who cannot contribute is a society that has lost its way." Danny thought about humanity by that measure. They weren't perfect, not by a long shot, but they tried. Most people tried to do right by each other even when it was hard. "We're still learning," Danny said. "We make a lot of mistakes." "All young species do," Kesith replied. Her wings rustled softly in the evening breeze. "The question is whether you learn from those mistakes or repeat them. So far, humanity seems willing to learn. That gives me hope." During the days Kesith met with colony officials and scientists, she shared knowledge carefully, explaining that she had limits on what she was authorized to give. The Valari High Council had been clear about this. Too much technology too fast could be dangerous. But she shared what she could. She showed the colony's doctors better ways to scan the human body for disease. She taught the agricultural scientists techniques for enriching soil that would make crops grow stronger and healthier. She demonstrated energy systems that were cleaner and more efficient than what humans currently used. The colony's scientists were overwhelmed with excitement. They recorded everything Kesith said, asked thousands of questions, and stayed up late into the night discussing the implications. This was knowledge that could help all of humanity, and it was happening here on their small frontier colony. Governor Barnes set up communication with Earth and the other major human settlements. The news of first contact spread quickly through human space. Some people were excited, seeing this as humanity's chance to join a larger galactic community. Others were worried, afraid that aliens would take advantage of humanity's relative weakness. Political leaders demanded that Kesith come to Earth for formal meetings. Military officials wanted to know about Valari weapons and defenses. Business leaders saw opportunities for trade and profit. Everyone had an opinion about what should happen next, but Kesith politely refused to leave New Portland Colony. "This is where it began," she told Governor Barnes during one of their meetings. Danny was there too, still not quite sure why his presence was requested so often. "This is where I learned about human kindness. Let this place be a symbol of what first contact can be, not about weapons or profit, but about genuine connection between two species." Earth's leaders weren't happy about that decision, but there was nothing they could do. Kesseth was not their citizen. She could not be ordered or commanded. And threatening an alien ambassador seemed like a spectacularly bad idea, especially when her people had technology far beyond human capability. So New Portland Colony became the center of human-Volari relations, at least for now. Diplomats and scientists traveled there from all over human space. The small frontier settlement suddenly found itself host to important people and complicated politics. Governor Barnes looked stressed but determined to handle it all. Through it all, Kesseth kept returning to Danny's house every evening. She said it was the one place where she could relax and be herself, not an ambassador carrying the weight of two species' futures. Danny and Lisa welcomed her presence. It was strange having an alien as a house guest, but Kesseth was good company. She was thoughtful and kind, with a gentle sense of humor that transcended species differences. One evening, Lisa showed Kesseth her greenhouse, where she grew experimental crops combining earth and local plant species. Kesseth walked among the plants with interest, her wings brushing gently against the leaves. "These are beautiful," Kesseth said. "You have real talent for this work. On my world, we have gardens that have been tended for 10,000 years. Each generation adds to them, learning from what came before. I think you would appreciate them. Maybe someday I'll get to see them," Lisa said wistfully. Kesseth's ears perked forward. "Perhaps sooner than you think. The High Council is discussing allowing human visitors to Volari worlds. If that happens, you and Danny would be among the first invited. After all, Danny saved my life. He and his family will always be welcome among my people." Danny came home that evening to find Lisa practically glowing with excitement about the possibility of visiting an alien world. She peppered Kesseth with questions about what they would see, what they should expect, how they should behave. Kesseth answered patiently, clearly pleased by Lisa's enthusiasm. That night, after Lisa had gone to bed, Danny and Kesseth sat on the porch together. It had become their habit, these quiet conversations under the stars. Danny felt comfortable enough now to ask questions he had been wondering about. "Can I ask you something?" Danny said. "Of course," Kesseth replied. "Why did you really come back?" Danny asked. "I mean, I'm glad you did, and I understand about thanking me. But you could have sent a message. You could have had someone else make first contact. Why come yourself? Why make it so personal?" Kesseth was quiet for a moment, her violet eyes looking up at the stars. When she spoke, her voice was soft. "Because it mattered to me," she said. "When I was lying in that alley, hurt and afraid, I thought I might die there. I was far from home, alone in pain. And then you came. You didn't know who I was. You didn't know if I was dangerous or valuable or important. You just saw a creature that needed help, and you helped." She turned to look at Danny directly. "That taught me something important about your species. It taught me that humans are capable of acting with compassion, even when there is no benefit to themselves. That is rare, Danny. Rarer than you might think. Many species only help their own kind. Many only act when there is something to gain. But you helped me because it was the right thing to do. I still don't see what's so special about that," Danny said honestly. "Most people would have done the same." "Would they?" Kesseth asked gently. "I have studied your species extensively over the past 5 years. I have watched recordings of human behavior in thousands of situations. And yes, many humans would have helped me, but many would not have. Many would have been afraid or suspicious. Many would have decided it was not their problem. Many would have walked past." She spread her wings slightly, catching the moonlight. "You stopped. You cared. You acted. And that small act of kindness created ripples that spread farther than you can imagine. It brought me home safely. It gave me a story to tell my people. It changed the High Council's view of humanity. It opened the door for first contact between our species. All because you took the time to help a small injured creature in an alley." Danny sat with that for a while, trying to understand. His whole life he had just tried to do the right thing when he saw something that needed doing. He fixed broken machines because people needed them fixed. He helped neighbors because they needed help. He had saved Kesseth for the same reason, because she needed saving. It had never occurred to him that these simple actions could matter so much. "I'm still not sure I understand," Danny admitted. Kesseth made a sound that might have been a laugh. "That is part of what makes it so remarkable. You do not see your own goodness as unusual. You do not think you deserve special recognition for being kind. That humility, that genuine lack of self-importance, that is also part of what impressed me. You are simply a good person, Danny Carter." And perhaps humanity needs more people like you to see that and to try to be the same. They sat in comfortable silence after that. Two beings from different worlds sharing a moment of peace under alien stars. The weeks turned into months. Keseth remained on New Portland Colony, working with human scientists and diplomats. More Volari arrived, a small group of them, to help establish proper communication and cultural exchange. They set up a small embassy building near the edge of town, but Keseth still spent most of her time at Danny's house. The other Volari were polite but formal. They did their work efficiently and kept mostly to themselves. Keseth explained that they were uncertain about humans, still evaluating whether close contact was wise. They watched and learned but did not engage personally. Give them time, Keseth told Danny. They have not had the experience I had. They have not felt human kindness directly. They will learn, as I did. Life in the colony began to settle into a new normal. The news of humanity's invitation to join the galactic community spread like wildfire through human space. Every colony, every station, every settlement from the inner core worlds to the distant frontier heard about it. People gathered around screens to watch the announcements. They debated what it meant in bars and cafes and family homes. Some were excited, seeing a future full of new possibilities. Others were nervous, worried about losing human independence or being exploited by more advanced species. Politicians gave speeches about humanity's bright future. Scientists talked eagerly about the knowledge they could gain. Military leaders quietly worried about security in a universe full of powerful aliens. Religious figures debated whether contact with alien life changed humanity's understanding of its place in creation. Through it all, one name kept coming up in the discussions. Danny Carter, the simple mechanic from New Portland Colony who had helped an injured alien without knowing what he was doing. His story became famous overnight. Reporters wanted to interview him. Documentary makers wanted to film his life. People wrote songs and poems about the man who changed humanity's future with one act of kindness. Danny hated all the attention. He turned down most interview requests and refused to appear on entertainment broadcasts. He was not comfortable being treated like a celebrity. He was just a guy who fixed broken things and tried to be decent to others. The fame felt wrong, like wearing clothes that didn't fit. But Governor Barnes convinced him that some appearances were necessary. People needed to see that first contact had come from a place of genuine goodness, not from political calculations or military strategy. They needed to understand that humanity's entry into the galactic community was based on compassion and friendship, not power or wealth. So Danny gave a few carefully selected interviews. He kept his message simple. He had helped because it was the right thing to do. He hoped other humans would remember that kindness mattered, no matter who or what needed help. He believed humanity could be a force for good in the galaxy if people chose to act with compassion instead of fear. The interviews were watched by billions. Many people found Danny's simple honesty refreshing in a world of polished politicians and corporate spokespeople. He became a symbol of what was good about humanity, the kind of person everyone wished they could be. 3 months passed quickly. Danny and Lisa prepared for the trip to Earth, their first time leaving New Portland Colony since they had arrived years ago. They bought new clothes for the ceremony, practiced how to behave at formal events, and tried not to be nervous about meeting world leaders and alien dignitaries. Keseth helped them prepare. She taught them about the other species they would meet at the ceremony, explained which gestures were polite or rude in different cultures, and assured them that they would do fine. Just be yourselves, Keseth told them. That is all anyone asks. You are not diplomats or politicians. You are the humans who showed kindness and built friendship. That authenticity is your strength. The journey to Earth was Danny's first time traveling on a Volari ship. The vessel was comfortable and elegant, with spaces designed to feel natural despite being in the middle of space. Keseth traveled with them, along with several other Volari officials. The trip took a week with Volari technology, a journey that would have taken human ships months to complete. When they arrived at Earth, Danny looked down at the blue-green planet where humanity began and felt a strange mix of emotions. He had left Earth as a young man seeking opportunity on the frontier. He was returning as a key figure in the most important event in human history. Earth's capital city was transformed for the ceremony. Buildings were decorated with flags and lights. Streets were filled with people from all over Earth and its colonies. Aliens from a dozen different species walked among humans, some there for the ceremony, others just curious to see what humanity's homeworld was like. The ceremony itself was held in a massive hall, built specifically for this event. Thousands of people attended in person. Billions more watched on screens across human space. Representatives from dozens of alien species were present, including the full Valari High Council, a group of elder Valari with wings even more magnificent than Keseth's. Danny and Lisa sat in places of honor near the front. Danny wore a simple suit that felt too formal and uncomfortable. Lisa wore a beautiful dress and looked nervous but excited. Keseth stood beside them, her wings folded respectfully, her presence a reminder of how all this had begun. The head of the galactic community, an ancient being from a species called the Ithrani, spoke first. His translated words echoed through the hall. "We welcome humanity to the galactic family. Your species is young, but you have shown the wisdom and compassion that mark truly civilized peoples. You have proven that you can extend friendship to those different from yourselves. You have shown that you value life and kindness above fear and profit. These qualities give us hope that humanity will be a positive force in the galaxy." Then the Valari High Council leader spoke, a venerable Valari with silver fur and wings that seemed to contain starlight. She told the story of Keseth's rescue, of Danny's kindness, of how one simple act had changed the Valari's view of humanity. "We judge species not by their weapons or their wealth," she said, "but by their capacity for compassion toward those weaker than themselves." Danny Carter showed us that humans possess this capacity. He helped a small injured creature without knowing what he might gain from it. He acted from pure kindness, and that kindness opened a bridge between our peoples. The ceremony continued with speeches from various human and alien leaders. Treaties were signed, establishing formal relations between humanity and the galactic community. Gifts were exchanged, symbols of friendship and cooperation. Music from different worlds played, creating a tapestry of sounds that celebrated the diversity of life in the universe. Finally, Danny was called to speak. He had prepared some remarks with help from diplomats, but when he stood at the podium and looked out at the thousands of faces, both human and alien, the prepared speech seemed wrong. Instead, he spoke from his heart. "I'm not good at fancy speeches," Danny said, his voice carrying through the hall. "I'm just a mechanic from a small colony. 5 years ago, I found an injured creature in an alley behind my shop. I helped it because that's what you do when you see something hurt. You help, you don't ask questions. You don't calculate benefits. You just help." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "I didn't know that creature was a person. I didn't know she was from an advanced civilization. I didn't know helping her would lead to all this. And honestly, even if I had known, it wouldn't have changed what I did. Because kindness isn't about what you get back. It's about seeing need and responding to it." Danny looked at Keseth, standing tall and beautiful with her shimmering wings. "Keseth says I changed history, but really she changed me. She taught me that compassion can cross any boundary, that friendship can exist between beings completely different from each other. She showed me that the universe is full of people worth knowing, worth helping, worth caring about." He turned back to the crowd. "Humanity is joining something bigger than ourselves today. That's exciting and scary. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to struggle to understand cultures and customs completely different from our own. But if we remember to act with kindness, if we help when we see need, if we extend friendship instead of fear, then I think we'll be okay. I think we'll be more than okay. I think we'll be worthy of this honor you're giving us." The hall erupted in applause, humans and aliens alike showing their approval in various ways. Some clapped, some made clicking sounds, some flashed lights from bioluminescent patches on their bodies. Keseth spread her wings wide, a gesture of joy and pride. After the ceremony, there was a reception where Danny and Lisa met dozens of important people. They shook hands with presidents and ambassadors, exchanged greetings with alien dignitaries, and posed for countless photographs. It was overwhelming and exhausting, but also amazing in its own way. Through it all, Keseth stayed close to them. She introduced them to other species, explained customs they didn't understand, and helped them navigate the complicated social dynamics. She was their friend and guide, just as she had been since the day she returned to thank Danny. Late that night, after the reception ended and most guests had departed, Danny and Lisa stood on a balcony overlooking the city. Keseth joined them, her wings catching the lights from below. "How do you feel?" Kesseth asked. "Tired," Danny admitted. "But good. Really good, actually. All this happened because of something so simple. It's hard to believe. The most important things often begin simply," Kesseth said. "A kind word, a helping hand, a moment of compassion. These things seem small at the time, but they create ripples that spread farther than we can see. Your ripple reached across the galaxy, Danny. It brought two species together. It opened doors that had been closed. And it all started because you stopped to help when you could have walked past." Lisa leaned against Danny, her hand in his. "What happens now?" she asked. "After all this ceremony and celebration, what comes next?" Kesseth was quiet for a moment, looking up at